6 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Greetings, Chicago and beyond. It's me. It's Kira. I'm alive. All right. And there's very little that could get me to dust myself off and get my tookus here on the internet. And that is this incredibly special event where I not only get to introduce all of you to a very special person in my life, but also a very special person in, the fight for justice and for people over profit, which, as many of you know, we are huge proponents of here at Chicago Corner. And, one of the big reasons I wanted to do a show like Chicago Corner many, many years ago was really to uplift these kinds of voices, folks that are doing things inside of their communities and inside of their local politics to really change the lives of the people around them, strangers and those people that they know personally. And so I'm really, really pumped about the conversation that I get to have today with not only an incredible activist, also an entrepreneur, which for those of you who know me, I too am an entrepreneur. So we have that in common. A fellow Leo who will be celebrating her 71st birthday this month. And that's always a lot of fun because like every Leo, Louise really knows how to party. And but also just a really like a sister of mine. And so with that, without any further ado, I'll bring Louise on here. Hey, Louise, to chat a little bit, not only about like what you've done, right? And we'll cover that and all of that. But I think what's more important in our conversation today really is like, where are we going, right? And activism and organizing is required in our democracy, our rickety democracy right now. And so some of the things that I wanted to chat with you today about, after Louise, you give you give a quick introduction of yourself and tell our audience anything about you you'd like them to know. But, the importance of getting involved. And then, as you and I know, who've been lifelong activists and organizers, really the resilience required, which is going to take the big chunk of our conversation today, because those of us who are already actively in the fight need the tools that Louise is going to be sharing with us today. And you know what else? Like, not only the people that are in the fight for activism, just people who are doing anything to change anything, right? That takes a certain level of perseverance and therefore resilience. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So Louise, why don't you go ahead and just tell our audience a little bit about you, as much of your history as you care to share, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, as the bio and the description of this event on the YouTube page says, I started marching in 1968 in the student strike against the Vietnam War. And there's a very long list of causes that I've worked for since then. In recent years, it has, even the Central American sanctuary movement, which people these days don't talk about anymore, but a lot of things, a lot of causes that have been really important at various stages. And currently, for the past 15, 20 years, I've been focusing more on feminist issues. I had been working on issues of gender-based trauma, discrimination for the whole of my private practice that started in 1981. But there's things that policy takes care of, and there's things that we can take care of individually, and that involve a lot of healing process in order to do more effectively. Somebody came to me once to deal with her verbally abusive boss, and lo and behold, she had a history of domestic violence. And these things are also entangled, and the fact that it is normalized by society at large means that it's not just going to somebody to deal with anxiety or depression. It's knowing how this fits into a society where these things get normalized, enabled, and the abusers get protected.
Yeah.
One of the things that that are in the notes that Kira told me not to read off of, because my mind works that way.
I love you, Louise. I love it.
I think in outline form. Aftermath trauma is a term that I coined during the Me Too movement to talk about how it's not just the abusive interaction in sexual assault or any of the other forms of gender-based abuse. When the family defends the abuser for childhood sexual abuse, when HR defends the abuser instead of defending the woman who's being harassed, when society at large shows up to continue to not just perpetuate, but to validate the abuser's right to abuse, then I believe there is a larger damage that's done, even more than that original interaction, because it shatters our sense of safety in the world. It shatters our sense that justice even exists. And as I was typing those notes at 2:00 in the morning, I realized how we are living in aftermath trauma because of the politics of our time right now. There's so many structures of our society that are being broken down. And as a result, in resilience terms, and there's a whole lot I want to say about that, it's not just a question of making sure we get enough sleep and good food. It's a question of dealing with how many ways we get triggered about that.
Yeah.
Both from our own personal experience of abuse and just what it means on a visceral level to no longer feel safe in our society.
Yeah.
So tending to it on that larger, deeper, more complex level is really what the resilience work is all about. And that's one of the things that I'm offering recently is resilience for all of us, finding our yes in the time of no, resilience for women who are feeling triggered because of abuse history, resilience for people who are right in the thick of the activism,
right?
And also spiritual resilience, how, what it means to have a sense of intuition about the larger arc of events. And I can get into detail about any of that stuff.
Yeah, and we're likely going to. One of the things that I want to point out that I often talk a lot about, especially inside this world of like needing to do, right, is that we often don't take the time or honor the time that it takes to actually build resilience in a world like ours, because our world is very much built on taking action, doing the thing, and not actually slowing down, because God forbid we slow down. And so really what I hear and what you're saying, and one of the things I really like to uplift in the conversation about activism, is that activism and organizing, there is a sort of like collective conversation for it. And then there's the individual conversation for it. And regardless of which conversation you're in at this season of life, you're still in it as long as there's a level of intentionality there, right? Because you got to take care of the golden goose, if it's going to go out and actually change the world. So what are your thoughts, like as a practitioner on the one-on-one level, because you kind of toggle both, right?
Yeah, as well as workshops.
And then the collective as well, right?
Yeah, so I think a lot about what burnout means. I think a lot about how our personal triggers affect our productivity in the larger sphere. I think a lot about how living in an unjust world creates a set of assumptions, not necessarily defeatist, but it gives us a lot of baggage that we really don't need to carry forward. I mean, the workshop that I first developed on resilience for activists at the beginning of the Iraq War talks about blood, sweat, and tears. Blood, our commitment to what we care about. Our sweat, the things that we're actually doing to get things done. And our tears, the emotional baggage that needs to be embraced with compassion. But if we don't process that, then it's heavy burden carried forward that would, that gets in the way. That there's the question of activist anxiety. Because everything is so urgent, because everything is so painful and so tragic, we feel like we have to do it all right now.
Right.
And that's not just a question of being able to suss out the timeline or figure out our, pick a lane. It's also a question of dealing with how that affects us on a subconscious level.
Right.
So being able to do that workshop does a lot of detox about that, about sharing those feelings in an honest, authentic way, not pretending that we're superheroes, because guess what? We'll find out we're not.
Yeah.
And how there's ups and downs. There's going to be life events that will impede, that will maybe trigger, that will maybe, and it's not either we do the work or we deal with our life. Those two things are going to feed each other in both difficult and beautiful ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And, when they can integrate is really when we can actually sense resilience in the system, right? And that's really what it's about. I remember when I first started in the world of organizing and activism, the sense of it for me was always like, I have to do it all. And the first thing I do has to be the most impactful thing.
Oh.
Right? Like,
it's that urgency. It's that sense of we gotta. I mean, there's a term, empathic distress, when we witness the pain that we cannot change. That's happening, the suffering. When we don't have access to, letting everybody out of Alcatraz. I mean, we don't have access to certain aspects of what's going on. And the buildup of that distress needs to be cleansed and detoxed with honesty, with mindfulness, with compassion.
mm-hmm.
The fact that we're human beings, that we're not robots, is actually a beautiful thing. The fact that we're messy means that we bring creative inspiration from all sources to the collective efforts.
Yeah.
And those complexities, that messiness, the fact that we're learning as we go, enriches the process. It's better that we're not robots at this. It's better that we show up saying, I'm really confused. And from that discomfort comes discoveries that we would not have had otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that the personal work is part and parcel to it, right? It can be really hard to be motivated to get out of bed at the beginning of the day for anything other than money in our society, right? And so to be able to actually peel away, funny enough, when I was there, was like to actually be able to peel away the identity that we are and say, like, what is it really that I care about? I think is like part of the work that you're talking about, right? Which is like, how do we even know who we are when we're just these beings that are like born into this collective trauma, right? And then we're just like repeating things over and over again that, our ancestors repeated, or that we have repeated from early stages of life. And we're living out of this habituated way of being versus like a true, authentic, like spiritual, almost soulful, like pull. Yeah. And I think that
there's so many threads that operate different timelines that we dip in and out of. Our awareness of what it means to have taken on things from our ancestors, our awareness of what it means to have something remind. I mean, let's face it, the current administration is a bad boyfriend. So whatever we have dealt with on that level, it's going to push our buttons about that for useful and difficult reasons. Yeah. So there's so many complex threads in all of this that are not a simple linear I need to, as I say, as in my notes, I said, I need to pick up 3 cans of patience and 4 cans of optimism and, 2 cans of good self-care. That's not enough because we're going to keep evolving through the process.
Yeah. Absolutely. And, I'm sure that there's something there also for this, this just like pausing to allow for integration also, right? Because it's like we're in this fight, and a lot of times we just have blinders on, because how else are we going to actually like get through what it is we need to do, which is like make 1 million phone calls, go out into the street and like be really exposed, which for a lot of us is really terrifying, and making the 1 million phone calls for a lot of us might be very terrifying, and those are actually the steps, those and several, there's lobbying, right? Going and talking to, your state, senators and Congress people, which takes a lot of courage and a lot of time and a lot of resources, which is what all of this actually takes, which is a huge piece of why we even started this conversation in the first place, Louise, since you dedicated your life to this.
And how we deal with each other in the work is part of a complex thing too. I mean, I back in the 70s, everybody I knew, including myself, belonged to a half dozen different collectives for far more causes than we could ever do any good about. And the process of discussing our goals, we're human beings, we're messy with each other. I used to belong to a group called People's Music Network for Songs for Freedom and Struggle, and you can tell it was formed by a committee. You can tell that the name was chosen after 6 hours and everybody fought for their phrase to go into it. So the process of working with each other is another beautiful opportunity to explore our humanity, but it's time consuming. I mean, I'm one of these folks who just show I want to go straight, cut through the Gordian knot. Can we just decide? Can we just get it done? We've been talking long enough. Can we just get it done?
Can we just go back and change it later if we come up with something better, right? Like, that's kind of who I am.
Oh my God, the number of times I said, let's vote now. And everybody says, thank you, I want to go home. So that's another level of complexity. There's another piece that I, while I'm thinking about it, want to share. The question of not slipping into old school binary oppositional thinking, where if the only way we think about activism is us versus them, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that entangles ego into the process. It is part of the old power pyramid, there's only one top dog, which is part of patriarchy and racism and, toxic masculinity and all the rest of it. So to understand that we can go into the gray area and things that, wow, I never thought about it that way before. I don't have to win the discussion, so we're not attached to that. The more we feel the urgency, the anxiety, the righteous rage, it makes it difficult to not get into that drama.
Yeah.
But to be able to say, okay, I'm going to process my crap and be better able to show up for these discussions and make them productive.
Yeah. And gosh, and I love how you're bringing up this, because these are things that I like don't necessarily think about all the time, right? Like, how are we working with each other? And what I'm often thinking about, because my whole shtick is like, let's get people in, right? Whereas your shtick is like, let's keep people in.
And let's actually get something done. I mean, it's a really, it sounds like it might be healy-feely to some people who just want to, let's have the structure.
Yeah.
But it's actually more productive when we don't waste time on unnecessary drama.
Right, exactly. And it just creates another barrier inside of that whole question of like, how do you find the thing? And this is like literally my question for you right now, Louise, because it took me a long time to really understand my self-interest, right? And it's like, so like, and by the way, I just want to uplift something Global said, that they said right before you said it was, most issues are BW, black, white, yay, nay, up, down, left, right. And we're in a gray world, right? And that was like literally right before you said it. So I was like, how beautiful, hilarious.
Gray world right here.
But like, how does a person
Yeah, even challenging binary as a concept in our society, in context of gender, is challenging us to look beyond that oppositional model.
Yeah, that there's just there's two choices. I'm either left, I'm either right. I'm either male, I'm either female. I'm whatever. Like mom, not a mom, right? That was the first thing, right? Because like all of us can be mothers, right?
Yeah.
So, there's always, there's always a gray, there's always a space for interpretation and perspective, and compassion.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that brings up something else that I was thinking of, is the question of progressive purity. There are a lot of people who I've seen will condemn somebody entirely if there's one aspect of policy that they don't agree with. And I call that quibbling over whether the bucket somebody brought to put the fire out has, is the right color, the right shade of turquoise. It's like, it's not a question of we'll figure out the differences later because the house is burning down right now. It's a question of being able to truly embrace difference. If we're going to talk about diversity, to truly show up with respect for people's perspective and to really listen.
Yeah.
Because they may have reasons we haven't thought of for their position.
And it's the only way we build power. If we're not mingling with millionaires and billionaires, it's literally the way we build power is by hearing each other, listening to each other's stories, really understanding perspective, in a way that like maybe previously we weren't open to. But I think that there's a real urgency for that type of communication right now, because we know on the left over here that we've been incredibly fragmented in the last probably 8-10 years, right? Where we are like, oh, you're that, right? And I'm certainly guilty of it. Like, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody else, but I do think that that there is a broader conversation happening on the left, but I also see something really beautiful inside of like the whole independent movement, right? See, like kind of like just really being in the world of like, actually, the majority of us all kind of want the same thing. What if we spoke into the listening of these folks that don't necessarily call themselves left, but if we broke policy down by policy, they would see that we actually agree on quite a few items. We disagree on others, sure. And there's a lot of big agreement points. And I think that takes a lot of that personal work and resilience work that you're talking about, because it can be very triggering to be in a conversation with someone who has the opposite perspective as you, right?
It's triggering in a good way.
Yeah.
The things that challenge us to really examine what I call the hunger under the hunger. Why do you want that? Well, why do you want that? Well, why do you want that? That helps us discover what's most important. And often we can meet right there. If our core purpose is compassion, then that's the root of the tree from which many branches can grow.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's lean a little bit more into this conversation about resilience. One of the things I want to bring up very specifically is why resilience, from my perspective, is quite necessary in the world of activism. So I've worked on a lot of campaigns, policies, like electoral campaigns, all of that stuff over the years. And what I always witness is this. So I've won a lot because I love to win and I'm competitive, right? I love winning, right? I don't do anything unless I think I'm going to win. Let's just, except for bowling and billiards and that kind of stuff. But I love to win. And so I've won a lot. And what inevitably happens, Louise, is it starts getting chipped away, right? And so all this effort we put in over like months, sometimes years of collective work gets easily chipped away just over like another like year, just because people put cash toward it. And like, we all know what's happening with our legislators and stuff. So that's where like that, I feel like that's almost where the resilience work like really gets exposed, right? Is when you win and then you're like, I have to keep doing this.
Yeah, I often think of how Nelson Mandela was in Rikers Island for 27 years, and you know, referring to your professional work, he did physical workouts, right, to be able to stay on track, and it wasn't linear. I'm sure in that length of time, you go through a lot of personal growth as a human being. So again, it's not a binary of on or off. It's a deeper, more complex level of evolving, of learning. You know, I had a conversation with somebody last year who I pointed out something that she had posted, which is a pet peeve of mine, which is assigning female names to politicians that we hate. It's so misogynistic and it really pisses me off. So I pointed that out and she got so upset, like I had become her worst enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as I'm concerned, if somebody were to point out some hidden misogyny in myself, I'd be like, thank you. I needed to hear that, because I don't assume I'm ever going to be perfect. The work that we do is so important, but we don't have to be superheroes to do it. And that's actually a good thing, because whatever we are evolving to learn and gain wisdom about, and whoa, those questions, I never thought about that, is a really important part of the work.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
absolutely.
deepens, it enriches what we're doing.
It's life's work, right? I mean,
so to your question, yeah. So to your question about that chipping away, my answer to that would be go further down the roots of the tree.
mm-hmm.
For what your hunger under the hunger goals are. What is it that feeds you? What is it that makes it feel worthwhile? What is it that is the root, not only the destination you want to get to, those branches, but what is the core of why you are there?
Mm-hmm.
And if that is still being fed and satisfied, then it shouldn't be discouraging.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, I want to get into a long story to explain this, but I learned some months ago that, because I've been through some heartbreaking, damn it, I thought we were going to get this done.
Yeah, totally.
And what I came out of that with was, I showed up committed to love, and that has not changed.
Yeah.
I showed up committed to service, and the look on the face of the person who saw the spark of what they're capable of, or the transformation, or the freedom that they gained, being connected to that core root is why we're here, and that is eternal. Mm-hmm. That will remain once we are dead and buried and forgotten. Mm-hmm. Is belonging to that greater love, that greater devotion to commitment for what matters.
Yeah.
So as long as that is still true for you, the details of how it gets worked out, because let's face it, history goes through it's a crap over the centuries, right? And we evolve, we continue to grow, we continue to learn as just a species. And it's not just a linear better. It's not. Because there will be things that show up, like our current politics, that make us go, oh crap, we need to go a lot deeper than what the founders planned for our nation.
Yeah.
We need to scrub out a whole lot deeper than what was originally designed. So the process of discovering we have to go to that deeper level is part of the work.
And aren't we lucky to get to be the people that get to do that? I mean, come on. I think of Eliza and Hamilton. Look around at how lucky we are to be alive right now, right?
Yes. I was saying in the text that you read this morning, that I sent you at 2:00 in the morning, that thinking about this on that large scale brings up a feeling of great tenderness for the community. Mm-hmm. You know, what we talk about, hug loud, that's who I am. I hug loud. And the sense of connection, not only to the larger experience of distress, the larger experience of exhaustion, I feel it when there's natural disasters. I feel it in my body. So I actually have to deal with that vulnerability, right, and sometimes shield myself from it. But it also means being connected to that larger sense of, wow, aren't human beings amazing? that we keep showing up to stand up for compassion.
Yeah.
There's something that on that visceral level that's not just logical or strategic that I was remembering earlier many years ago. Probably before 45 years ago, I led a workshop where they accidentally didn't limit registration. So instead of having 15 people, we had 55, all crammed into a room, 55 women. And I had them sound through the birth canal in a great roar what they wanted to birth into the world.
Ooh, that sounds exciting.
I will never forget that little room with all of us going, yeah. So experiencing it on that level, and not just political theory, not just the heady stuff, but the visceral, physical, ancestral, intuitive, and I already said ancestral, but that really, really deep, mythic is the word I'm looking for.
Oh yeah.
Understanding of that. And that's why music is so important, the civil rights movement, singing together. That's why so many things about friendship in our work with each other really matter, even besides the practical things we get done. So connecting to that is another answer for how to get through the damn it, I thought we won this one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The connection piece, Louise, is such a huge piece. I was just in a training recently for the People's Lobby, and we were talking about how we connect through each other's stories. Like, so many people get stopped coming into activism because it's like, I don't know civics. I don't know the ins and outs. I don't, I don't know my congressperson. How am I even who am I to get involved in all of this? Right. And it just, that's all the stuff
they have so much skill to show up with.
Yeah, that's the stuff you learn along the way, right? You got to show up to learn how to do it, right? And so really speaking to what you're saying, which is just feel it, be with it, and allow it to lead you in a way that that maybe our way of wanting to be controlled, know what's going to happen, and all of those sorts of things don't allow us to do, right?
Yeah. And on that question of community, which is so important, I wanted to make sure and say at some point today that this is what the birthday party that we've scheduled for the 27th as part of the GoFundMe is all about celebrating all of us, celebrating all of our activism. It's about being able to show up and say, you know what, this I'm good at. This completely confuses me and I'd like some help.
Yeah.
To do that honestly, authentically, to be able to say, I often say, I'm such an extrovert. I love to show up at a room, of 300 people I've never met. I hug 2/3 of them on the way out. And then it's like, you should meet so-and-so. They've written a book that's going to help you with that. And making those connections.
Look at that organizing. Yeah.
So it's greater than the sum of the parts. And it's not only logistically useful, it's something that we come out of feeling like, you know what, I think I can do this because I saw that person smile, because they saw me when I said XYZ, because I came out of it feeling like I have someone I can trust now to help me out with the problem they've got.
Yeah. And showing up like that also helps us to recognize that we're not alone.
Yeah.
Because
and
this
is how I remember something I'm going to say. I used to live with a guy who was from New York, and he was really, verbally aggressive, and he would go on to the next topic, and I would okay, I've got a thought for whenever you're ready.
All my fingers here.
Whenever I can pop in, so my hand automatically does that. It's so not only the birthday party, but I seriously put out to anybody who's listening to this, I want to hear from you. I want to know who you are. I want to come out of what we're doing today having made a bunch more connections. I've been housebound, as Kira knows, because my car got totaled beginning of last year, during my cancer treatment. Taking a bus is difficult because with my chronic illness, I get blisters under my toes. So I've been housebound, and I only see people who deliver food. and people for medical appointments. So I want to connect with people coming out of this today to just mutually nourish each other. I miss that so much, so much. I mean, you know, that GoFundMe is, you know, help me get an Uber so I can go to a meeting sometime.
Right. Well, and you know, so when we were talking about self-interest, right? And I volunteered to help you out with this project because I have a self-interest in your work being like out there and exposed for everybody who wants to get involved in activism and organizing, because I'm building power, right? And so, so that's what I do, right? And so inside, you know, inside of that building power, I need tools like what you're creating, Louise, so that I don't have to invent the wheel every time we have a loss or every time we have a win, right? Because everybody just peels off and dies, right? After you lose or win. And then like, you're like, no, we still got to keep going, right? And so I need the people that I'm working with inside of building power to have a level of resilience, to have a level of like an ability to like look inward to themselves and like what is really gonna light their hair on fire in a way that gets them going, right? You know, and lucky me, and you're very similar. Lucky me, like I just have that intrinsic sort of like push to go, right? It's just there for me. And like, I'm very publicly make mistakes because I don't wait to like think things through first, right? I'm just very go. And so like, I have that, and there are other things I have to work on, right? And my self-interest in your work coming out is that I will more effectively build power. And so I want to get a little bit more into like the real, like, this is my perspective, but the real nitty gritty as to why we're raising funds, right? Yes, it's so that you can get around the city. Sure, it's so that you don't have to like be like scrambling to find clients, right? So, but it's really so that you can hone this incredibly needed work right now and put it into the world for folks like me and people who want to make a difference in the world to actually be able to utilize. And so what I really want to like know from you specifically is like, if someone is tuning in right now and they really want like the juice of what you're creating in the world at this moment, I want you to tell me, what is that juice? And what has me so excited to push this work?
Oh, bless you. So many different sprouts of questions in what you just said.
Oh, of course, that's how I roll.
Yeah. The fact is, as a really social being, you know, being stuck in my house, you know, I mean, partly, I mean, I'm COVID careful. You know, I've got 3 different, you know, chronic illness disabilities. You know, there's lots of, you know, and no car, no way to get around, no buses. So the social connecting is something that I really, oh my goodness, you know, getting rides to meetings. I live in North Park, folks. You know, I would love to get rides to go to these various events and meetings and, you know, organizational events to just build that community. You know, and there's, I mean, there's so many things about the financial situation. I mean, you know, Medicare, Medicaid is under threat. Social Security. The fact that I haven't been able to get out has really depleted my income professionally. So, as Kira and I were talking about this, also some other people on the team, it has really been debilitating to have to focus on, oh crap, I'm halfway through the month. Am I going to make my rent? Over and over and over and over again. And, you know, to squeeze out, you know, maybe if I don't buy toilet paper till next month, you know, the having to focus on that survival fear has made it really difficult for me to focus on what I can actually do in the world. You know, it's the case for anybody who's dealing with financial stress. So to free me up so that I have a cushion So based on that cushion and that reassurance, I can then do the work that I can get paid for, but not be so consumed with the financial stresses.
Yeah, well, because I think that we all know, because most of us probably are experiencing it or have experienced it. The moment that stress is there, that tunnel vision, like that whole like poverty cycle tunnel vision things occurs, and then we can't be in our creative flow. We can't be open to opportunities that are presenting themselves to us because we're closed down, and we get those blinders on. And so I mean, I would love to experience your work without the constraints of all of that extra other stuff. I mean, I'm on the left. I would love to experience everybody's work and creativeness without those constraints, right?
Yes, it's all a beautiful potluck dinner. It's all, we're all bringing, our own individual contributions in really beautiful ways.
Yeah.
We're all needed. Every one of us is needed. Absolutely. That's why I want to hug loud and celebrate everybody.
Yeah.
And it's something that, it's like the Maslow's pyramid. When you have the survival needs attended to, then creativity is possible. Then ambition is possible. Then wow, we could do this is possible. Our goals blossom when we're no longer living in fear.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
So Louise, I understand that you did prepare something for us, and I do want to make sure that we cover that. And however you want to present it, I am totally great with. And we may have already covered a lot of it, but I want to make sure that what you want to say definitely gets heard. And so, of course, this is what we're here for. I want to make sure not only that you are understood and heard, but then everybody here knows how to reach you if they want to, and also knows where to go to join this party on the 27th. So we'll go ahead and right before we got on, like, we were having technical difficulties. I love this. I'll tell this quick story while Louise searches. Right before we got on, Louise was like, I wrote this beautiful thing. Like, no, we're interviewing. See, we're working with each other here. And this is what it's all about, right? And so as we were getting on, we had a tech issue, a tech snafu. Right as we're in the middle of this conversation, and Louise has to go, and there's no audio, and I'm like, well, we'll figure it out. So So yeah, Louise, I would love to hear what you'd love to share. Yes.
Yeah. So how to reach me, Louise?
Oh, the irony.
And my women's power voice. Can you hear me? My God,
Louise, you just cut out. You cut out right as you were giving your information for contact. Hilarious, right? And then of course, we'll have it in the chat as well. We have someone behind the scenes.
So Louise at womenspowervoice.com is my email associated with my website. You can find out more about the feminist work at womenspowervoice.com. There is a contact, actually my Google Voice number. There's a click for contacting me by email, but the Google Voice number, which I put out so that I don't get spam calls, 847-868-0228. You asked me what I want to make sure to still share, and it's not the stuff about the resilience. It's actually, I suggested earlier that you asked me, why did you have a little hotel soap from the
That's right.
From the oh my goodness, I'm blanking.
The Watergate
Hotel on my dorm room door when I was 19. I was in DC for complicated reasons I don't have to get into, but I was in DC for the anti-inaugural concert that happened in National Cathedral. Nixon had scheduled a concert with I think it was Philadelphia Orchestra, and they played the William Tell Overture. Talk about tone deaf. Right? Like, whoa. And he didn't want to, have national orchestra because there were a bunch of leftist hippies, and, and not hippies, but anyway, I was a hippie. But the concert that was held at National Cathedral is historic. I mean, apparently Robert Reich was there. He wrote about it. And I was there, pouring rain, 2,000 people crammed National Cathedral with another 12,000 outdoors listening in the rain on loudspeakers. And Leonard Bernstein, yes, I'm old enough to have seen Leonard Bernstein conduct. It's like, from history.
Back in the good old days.
Conducted, yes, the old days, conducted the Haydn's Mass in Time of War, which was like gut-wrenching, powerful, beautiful for what we were all there for, against the Vietnam War. And I mean, I'll never forget, at the end of the concert, it was Dona Nobis Pacem. Dona Nobis Pacem, Pacem. So give us peace. Because my generation of activists then, we sincerely believed that we were going to create peace in the world. You know, it wasn't just tie-dye peace, man. I mean, we meant it. You know, this was we believed in it. We had that vision. And that was coming out of the Mad Men generation. That was my parents' generation. And, you know, where the really buttoned, my folks thought Italian food was too spicy. That's how buttoned. So the explosion with the sexual revolution and, you know, and I mean, long hair on men, I literally refused to date any man if I could see the top of his ears. Because it was such a clear delineation of us, you know, of who were interesting and who we were. So that concert, I'll never forget, it was so powerful. And coming out of that, because I was in DC, I managed to snag a little hotel soap from the Watergate Hotel, and I put it on my dorm room door to remind us then and now that tyrants can be brought down.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that the reminder is really important because when we're in the thick of it, when we're doom scrolling, when, you know, we hear another story of some poor, horrible, like some poor person getting like taken off the street, right? It's just like, oh my God, like what do I do? What do I do in this moment in time? And I guess, like, for me, what I always get from talking to you and just people, you know, who are in the fight, like taking action, it often really is just do the next thing, like just take the action, right? Like we're not necessarily going to be able to stop that incident from happening. And when each of us do the work that there is to do, that's when a real democracy starts to like emerge, right?
That's it. That is the messy human journey of it all.
Yeah.
That's the real thing, as opposed to the simplistic political theory that strips away all of the messy stuff.
Yeah.
It's the heart of it. It's the guts of it. It's the life of it. It's the juiciness of it. Where we look at somebody across the room at a discussion and they go, yeah, I get it. And we build a connection. We build a bond. I mean, I see that as, you know, the basket weaving, you know, where we can, in the Blood, Sweat, and Tears activist detox workshop, just spontaneously, somebody in the workshop the last time I taught it spoke of how isolated she felt, how she felt like, you know, how do I keep it going? And I forget who it was that spoke to her that she felt heard. And then so I invited everybody in the circle to do the same thing, to share something and to ask for somebody's feedback, somebody's connection. We wove the basket.
I love that.
We wove the basket. Another thing we did was I had everybody bring a small glass jar. And in the course of the workshop, we all did what was ultimately very funny emotional discharge, where we went blah into water. We had a big bowl of water and we went blah, blah, blah. You know, I mean, eventually people started farting into the bowl and it was like, it was wonderful. You know when the detox is going really well, when people start being funny.
Being funny. Yep.
The rinse water runs clean. And at the end of that, I had everybody dip into that bowl of water. We put it into their jar.
Yeah, yeah.
And instead of like, ooh, this crap, no, actually use it for compost.
Mm.
Take it home and pour it into your garden or under your favorite tree, because that garbage will then, that compost,
Yeah.
that detox will turn into new life.
Mm.
It turned into new life. And my favorite part of the workshop, and I'm outing it here because it's usually a surprise, is don't just take your jar home. Turn around to your neighbor and say, will you carry my tears?
Wow.
So
That's
then,
like,
yes, I am witnessing what you put into this jar, and I will carry your tears. And it went all the way around.
Whew, wow. Wow. That is, I mean, the work of connection, right? That's really deep. That's really deep.
Yeah. So if anybody is interested in this work, I want to do more of it. You know, if it is useful to organizations, if anybody is watching this, I would love to share this work, because it evolves every single time. The people who show up inform it and turn it into something magical.
Yeah. Yeah. And I said this earlier, and I just want to uplift it one more time, that, you have a special place in your heart for organizing and activists, right? And this work can be for anybody in any context, right? So like, life is going to life us no matter what, all the time.
Oh yeah. I was part of the Supermajority like 5 years ago. There was the summer program where I was like, oh, I could learn from all these webinars. And I discovered I was everybody's grandma. I was 2 generations older than the 1,200 young women. And it's not a question of we get better at it as we get older. They taught me so much.
Yeah.
Young activists, young feminists. I mean, they were getting graduate degrees for the progressive goals they wanted to accomplish. Where, I mean, my generation, we stuck daisies into the rifles with that. I mean, it was important on a mythic level, but I love the practicality of the activists that I met in that.
Yeah.
So I continue to evolve and learn and grow. Turning 71 doesn't mean I've got it all figured out. The continuous, what is it when you send seeds and fertilization?
Yeah. Okay.
The continuous process of fertilizing each other, of nourishing each other, of informing each other, of asking each other difficult questions that make us go, oh crap, I'm going to have to grow here. It's like what friends back in Boston used to call AFGO, AFGO, another fucking growth opportunity.
Another fucking growth opportunity. I love it.
So to welcome that, to say, you know what? I'm open to that. I'm open to not having it figured out. Oh, phew, because I'm human. I won't have it all figured out. I'm open to discover what new things will sprout in this next moment, because that's where the beauty lives.
Yeah. Yeah. And we are in the next moment now, aren't we? Cool. Okay. So one more time, where can people find you? Where can people find your work? And then also, let's, let them know where to find the party. So go ahead.
That's actually a good question. I mean, I could send out, Facebook invitations, but if people contact me, then I can certainly send them the Zoom link. I would love to have lots of fascinating, wonderful, ooh, I'm so glad I met you people at this birthday party.
And social media is also a good place to get that information from you too, right?
Sure. Yeah. So July 27th, 1:00, Zoom birthday party. How to reach me directly, which, I mean, I really hope people say, hi, I'm so-and-so. I saw you at Chicago Corner. Let's talk. And I'm like, yes, bring it. So Louise at womenspowervoice.com, womenspowervoice.com. That's my website. And and what was the phone number that I said? Yeah. Okay. My Google Voice number, 847-868-0228. That will go directly to my actual phone.
Perfect.
So I want to meet, I want to hug loud whoever's listening to this because I'm sure you are beautiful, inspiring souls, even if you don't know you are.
Absolutely. Yes. And we need you. We need you. We need you. So thank you so much, Louise. Thank you for trusting me when I suggested a live stream. I was like, let's do a live stream.
I am so grateful for everything you have done. You know, that beautiful video that you made for the GoFundMe page with the photo montage, including my first birthday.
Yeah. Oh, your photos were so great. If you guys haven't watched the GoFundMe video, definitely do. I love looking at old timey photos, but there are definitely some good Louise old timey photos in there.
Yeah, there's a picture of me dancing.
Yeah, I love that one too. Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you for everything you've been doing for this. I am so, so grateful. Bless your heart.
And I'm grateful for you. Thank you for all the work you've done. Thank you for allowing me to stand on the shoulder of giants as I do the work that I do as well here. And I always learn so much from you because, as you know, I don't know if our audience knows, but like, you know, my somatic work and a lot of that also, you know, I definitely integrate everything that I learned from my own teachers. And so, so I appreciate you.
And thanks to Jerry.
And then I was going to end it on, and thank you, Jerry, for being awesome and always saying yes to me. I appreciate you so much, more than you know. All right, y'all. Much love. So glad to be seen. Oh, hey, Ed. And thanks to Ed and Lainey for moderating. I love you guys so much. All right. Peace to you all. Bye, Chicago and beyond. We love you.
Get out. And don't come back until you've redeemed yourselves.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent. If you would like to be a guest on Chicago Corner, please email our host, Jerry, at chicagocorner.tv.
We're done.